I started rugby a little later than normal because I started in my mid-20s after I had my first child when I met a new partner, and he was a rugby player, and I fell in love with it straight away because it was a great bunch of girls. Like from the moment I stepped on the pitch with them for training, they were so welcoming. Before that, I hadn't really done much sport. When I had been playing for a couple of years, I had my first break from rugby because I had my first break from rugby. I broke my ankle through and through and couldn't play for 6 months. So I decided to take up photography, specifically sports photography, taking photos of rugby. And to keep myself involved, I'd go down and I'd take photos of all the games. I've also had my second pregnancy since I've started playing, and postpartum there as well. So you can't play rugby for 6 months again because of the trauma that's involved in the contact and the trauma that's involved in childbirth. The girls of my team, the women are just so aware and would message, check in how I was. All were really excited about the baby. For me, being part of a team and it being a team sport meant that it didn't really matter my circumstances or what was going on. There was always a place for me at rugby. I mean, if I don't turn up to the gym, no one questions that. No one's asking after me. If I don't turn up to training and I haven't told anyone, there's someone always to ask, is everything okay? Is something going on? Do you need any help with anything? The gym doesn't text you when you say you've tested positive to see if you want goodies brought around your house and things like that. And I think, especially as a woman, and we do go through different things to men, like childbirth, pregnancy, God, even our periods that keep happening, is having a team of women who go through the same stuff or similar things, or who might one day go through that. You get quite a family bond of everyone pitches in and looks after each other. I teach high school and I coach under 13s, under 15s or under 18s girls rugby, depending on what season it is and what I fancy doing that time. Teenagers are less confident. They've got a lot of anxieties. There's a lot of social pressure. They get this, hour and a half, 2 hours, once or twice a week where they can really let loose. They've got a group of people, again, that are like-minded to them. They all want to muck around. They all want to get physical. And they can get rid of some of that energy. I think as girls, we're conditioned far too early to not be competitive, to not be aggressive, to not be physical. So sometimes we have to train them out of that a bit. But actually, when it comes to, I'm really stressed because I've got exams coming up, there is nothing better than going in full pelt for a tackle against someone, because all of that adrenaline, all of the endorphins are going to take some of that anxiety and stress away. So for me, I teach in a school local to my rugby club as well. So I see girls from the rugby club in their school setting. And what I find really interesting about the girls in the game is that they don't actually hang out together at school. So they'll be playing together at rugby and they'll be best mates at rugby, but in school they all have their separate groups. They go their separate ways. They don't interact that much. And it's not a shade. It's not that they don't want to spend time together, but it almost protects those relationships at rugby. So when things go a bit wrong with their friendship group at school, outside of it, they've still got that like safe space, and they have those bonds that are just completely different. The social dynamics in a school setting I find are very stressful, very political and quite fraught, because you spend most of your time together. Whereas at rugby, I think it's a bit more freeing for them, and it's a space for them to sort of connect together with that shared interest of rugby and actually be completely separate from the school world. And I've noticed with the girls I coach compared to, say, some of the girls I teach, that actually they're not just accepting of their physical selves, they're really proud of it. They're not worrying necessarily about just what they look like. They're worrying about how powerful their body can be. When you get to the under 18s year group and we've got girls starting at the gym, they're not doing that to lose weight. They're doing that to, put a bit of weight on, to get stronger, to get faster, to get fitter, and to perform better rather than to look better. And I think once we all actually stop worrying about how our body looks and more about what our body does, you find you actually love how your body looks, because you're like, my God, I just did that today. For me, I think, especially when I think about the women on my team, we have 3 teams at Hove of all different women. And when we have the girls, not just the girls in the girls section that are already teenagers, but all of the girls that are in the mini section, when they turn up and they see these women arriving for their games, all focused on performing, all different shapes and sizes yet again, but all different personality types, I think that they see that there's someone in that setup that they can be.